In an old village surrounded by forests and mountains lived a man named Rashid the blacksmith. He was a simple man who worked in a small blacksmith workshop inherited from his father, and it was his only source of livelihood. Rashid was kind-hearted, loved helping the people of his village, and treated everyone with kindness. But his wife, Marwa, was a greedy woman who saw no satisfaction in their modest life. She longed for the life of palaces and luxury, and thought her husband's blacksmith work was trivial and not worth the effort. One night, while sleeping, she dreamed of living in a grand palace adorned with gold, served by maids, wearing the finest clothes and jewelry. She woke up determined to change her life, even if it meant sacrificing her husband. One day, while wandering through the village market, Marwa saw a wealthy man named Kamal. He was riding a black horse and wore luxurious clothes that showed his immense wealth. Her eyes fell on him, and she felt he embodied her dreams. But she didn't know that behind this man were dark secrets. Driven by greed, she went one night to an old witch who lived in the forest. It was said that she could change people's destinies with magic. When she reached the witch's dark hut, she asked her to ruin Rashid's life so she could marry Kamal. The witch laughed wickedly and said, "What you ask comes at a heavy price. Are you willing to pay it?" Without hesitation, Marwa offered her all the gold she had and was ready to do anything to fulfill her dream. But the witch had a daughter named Nada, a kind-hearted young woman who hated her mother's evil deeds. Nada overheard the conversation and advised Marwa, "Fear God. Your husband doesn't deserve this. Evil brings only regret." But Marwa ignored her and insisted the witch proceed. The witch made a dark spell and ordered Marwa to hide it in Rashid's workshop. The next morning, Marwa secretly placed the charm in the workshop. Within days, calamities started to befall Rashid. His tools broke down, customers disappeared, and he fell into debt and poverty without knowing the cause. Meanwhile, Marwa began to show her dissatisfaction with life and insisted on a divorce. Rashid tried to save the marriage, but eventually gave up, and the divorce happened. Marwa then began to plan how to attract Kamal and win his heart. She was fairly beautiful and had a decent figure. After long thinking, she devised a plan so cunning that even the devil himself wouldn't think of it. She watched Kamal's movements daily and learned that he was unmarried, owned great wealth from trade and agriculture, went hunting every Sunday, and visited his elderly mother every Saturday. She began implementing her plan. In one of Kamal's fabric shops, Marwa entered wearing her finest clothes to buy a dress that matched her figure. While choosing, Kamal entered the store, just as she had anticipated. To catch his attention, she staged a loud argument with the servant, accusing him of indecency. Kamal intervened to calm the situation. Marwa stormed out of the store, leaving a lasting impression. Days later, while Kamal was visiting his mother, he found Marwa at her house. Surprised, he asked, "What are you doing here?" "Came to fight with my mother too." But the old woman interrupted, saying Marwa helped her carry goods from the market. She asked Kamal how he knew her, and he told her about the shop incident. The old woman saw something in her son's eyes, a hint of interest in Marwa. The hours passed quickly, and when Marwa was about to leave, the old woman insisted that Kamal accompany her home. On the way, he invited her to go hunting with him the next day. She politely declined, saying she was busy looking for work. A few days passed, and Kamal realized he missed her laughter and presence. His mother often reminded him she saw Marwa working near one of his stores. He didn't want to make the first move, but Marwa had other ideas. She created an excuse to visit the fabric shop to buy another dress and apologize to the servant. There, Kamal saw her again, and this time he started a conversation. Hours passed without him realizing, and by the end, he invited her to go hunting. During the trip, Kamal confessed his love for her and said his mother wished to see grandchildren before she died. Marwa pretended to hesitate, but was eagerly waiting for this moment. She asked for a week to think. After a week, Marwa visited Kamal at the fabric store and agreed to marry him. But it wasn't long before she discovered He was a harsh man who cared only about her looks. Meanwhile, Rashid sat one evening alone, reflecting on his misfortunes, especially after hearing that Marwa had married Kamal. He decided to visit a wise sheikh in the village, seeking help. The sheikh told him, "Evil cannot prevail over faith. Turn to God and read the Quran daily in your workshop. Allah will lift your burden." Rashid followed the advice, reciting Quran and praying every day. Days later, the old witch became gravely ill. On her deathbed, she called her daughter Nada and said, "Go to the blacksmith. Tell him there's a curse in his workshop that caused all his suffering." Nada went to Rashid and told him everything. He searched the workshop, found the charm hidden under the blacksmithing table, and destroyed it. Instantly, his workshop began to recover, and life slowly returned to normal. One day, Nada visited Rashid, asking him to forgive her mother, whom she saw in a dream burning in hell. She also revealed it was Marwa who had requested the curse. Rashid, heartbroken, forgave the witch and even Marwa, praying for their forgiveness. He admired Nada's kindness and grace and decided to visit her home to propose. She accepted, and they got married. Months later, Rashid and Nada decided to expand the workshop. Although they didn't have much money, they began demolishing a wall to enlarge the space. During the work, Nada noticed a small door hidden in the corner. She called Rashid, who opened it and found a box filled with gold and documents proving ownership of lands that once belonged to his father. They were stunned. Rashid kissed his wife on the forehead and said, "You are my good luck." Their life changed dramatically. One day, as Rashid returned from the market, he saw Marwa sitting in the street, her clothes torn, and her face marked with fatigue. He approached and asked what happened. She replied, crying, "After I lost my beauty, Kamal treated me cruelly. He divorced me and threw me out. I've lost everything. Now I live on the streets, begging for help." Then she looked at him with pleading eyes and said, "Can you forgive me? I want to return to you." Rashid looked at her with sadness and said, "I forgave you long ago, but I cannot take you back. I'm married to a woman with a kind heart who values contentment and simplicity. But if you need help, you can come to my home. I'll do what I can." He left her crying, realizing, too late, that greed had destroyed her life and that true happiness lies in contentment. Rashid's story became a lesson passed around the village. Everyone repeated the words, "Contentment is an endless treasure, and greed destroys its owner." Rashid lived happily with Nada, filled with love and peace, while Marwa wandered between villages, filled with regret.